Hey everybody, back for another video with some updates on some recent happenings, some future plans, and what happened to the farm after Solomon died. First off, this video is brought to you by Stability. Stability in the sense that you won't need to feel as if I'm simulating motion sickness while you watch these videos. Heather and Philip, who are the real heroes here, got me a tripod, or at least a little mobile one, that will keep us from having to close our eyes and just listen. Maybe you already do that. But in this case, you get to look at the screen without it moving too much. So there we go. Also on the screen here, we have happy birthday to Bethany and Rachel. As I record this at 11:56 p.m., it is still August 18th. So happy birthday to both of you. And in 11 days, you can barely see it on the side of the screen, it is Elaine Greening's birthday, who to me is Grandma Hartman, and to most of you watching probably is your mother. So happy birthday to her. In the last week, myself, my mom, Aunt Cheryl, Uncle Ron, and Aunt Kathy went to see Sue Major, who is our half-sixth cousin. I've mentioned in videos before, I believe. And she has been doing a ton of research on the family, and certainly her line. From that direction, our common ancestor, Solomon Jr.'s grandfather, Johannes Hartman. So we went to visit her in Plymouth Meeting, PA. She's super nice. We got along great. We brought her L&M donuts, which maybe she's really a horrible person, but the donuts smoothed it over. We'll never know. I can't go back in time, but I do suspect she's probably a nice person. And we just had a great time. She has a shrine to her Hartman line in her family on the wall, which is super cool and gives us something we can aim for in the future. We talked through tons of bits of information and everything she had. She's done just truly yeoman's work on the research. So we'll be interacting with her plenty. And if any of you guys want to interact with her, just let me know and I'll send you her info and send her yours. So that's what happened last week. The 27th of August, next Saturday, that same group, we're going to be heading to Arntsville. So big news on that. Arntsville, from the videos we've discussed, where Solomon's farm was, where Earl lived and grew up and had his farm nearby, just the heart of Adams County there. Also, the town, Arntsville, that we are a descendant of the namesake, Jacob Arndt. So we'll do videos on that in the future. So that's the recent happenings and future happenings. Some plans for the videos I'm making here. I'm going to be digging into the Mickleys. I don't know that I've mentioned them yet, but if we scroll over here and let's see how well the camera holds up on the movement here. Over to the tree view. We're all familiar now with Solomon and Sarah. My third great-grandparents, some of your second great-grandparents. Sarah's parents, Nicholas Bushy and Hester Mickley. Hester, obviously, a Mickley. We go up here. She is the child of Peter Mickley and Rebecca Beery. Peter, keeping with the name, the male line here, is the son of John Martin Mickley, who is the son of John Jacob Mickley. In the research I've done in the last couple weeks through Adams County sources and through Vicky Hartman, who Sue got me in touch with, who is just if Sue's doing yeoman's work, Vicky is doing PhD work in the Hartmans. It's remarkable. John Jacob Mickley at the top there, I lost track of the number here, but something like my seventh great-grandfather, of which I have a bunch of them because you double the ancestors every level you go up. John Jacob Mickley was the immigrant from what, as far as I can tell, was France. The Mickley name is a derivative of Michelin, something like that, a French name, and there's a bunch of different spellings of it, so we can dig into that in another video, but that's the point of it. Some more fascinating stuff on the Mickleys. John Martin Mickley, his brother, so one of our great-great-granduncles, John Jacobs the senior, he had a son who was a junior. One of his sons, it's all in this little window of family, you get it, was involved with helping keep the Liberty Bell away from the British. Crazy story, we'll do a video on it. Some of his siblings, some of John Jacob Mickley's children, were caught up in an Indian raid and murdered. Also crazy. Do a video on it. Let's just say it would have been horrible to be alive in the Lehigh Valley in the 1740s. So fortunately, we're here now and not then. But all that's to come. Crazy stuff. Gonna do another video, and I know that's quite the cliffhanger there. That's quite the story to be like, hey, we're gonna do that another time, but we will. So that's how we get the Mickleys, and there are a bunch of them. All of the Mickley men had 11 plus kids, and all of those kids had 11 plus kids. We're starting to compound here at quite the rate. So that's how we're Mickleys, because everybody is, it seems. But we'll do that in another video. Another video as well I'm going to do on the Oilers, who we are, as you can see there. Solomon's mother was an Oiler. We'll talk about that. There's a bunch of research on the Oilers and where they came from, fortunately. Another video I'll do, which will just be for fun, is on some of the crazy ads in these old papers while I'm looking for Hartmans and Mickleys and Bushies and Oilers and all of that. There are some ads in these things that are, let's just say, before the FDA was a thing. People guaranteeing cures. Now you'll see at the end of a commercial, results may vary. This is not intended to cure, treat, or even think about any illness you may have thought it was connected to. Back then, no such prohibitions. Take Dr. Steve's magic elixir, sure to cure any gout, cancer, or swelling of the tonsils. I mean, this is a one-stop shop. They thought they had the fountain of youth there. At least that's what they were hawking. So that'll be fun. But now on to the main agenda today. After Solomon dies in 1899, as you can see here, I knew that George Rush Hartman, his son, one of his sons, Edgar is our direct ancestor, my second great-grandfather. George, one of Edgar's brothers, over here, we're getting there. There's a picture of George. That George was the executor of Solomon's will. But that was all I knew. And then I saw that George had sold some things to William F. Lady. I am certain, probably related to Hiram Collegiate Lady, who married one of their sisters, Anna Hartman, who lived into 1956. So I thought that was where the sale had gone with the farm, but didn't know for sure. Then Vicky keyed me into a certain Gettysburg Times. This one, a little out of order here, was August 22nd, 1899. So a couple months after Solomon had died. We know over here that Solomon died in 1899. And over here, we've got it August 22nd, 1899. So a couple months after. I can get you the exact date another time here. But Arntsville items. The administrators of the estate of Solomon Hartman, George Rush Hartman being the administrators, sold his farm, situated in Manalaun Township, for the sum of $5,200, George R. Hartman being the purchaser. So George sold the farm to himself for $5,200, which I calculated was around $184,000 in today's money. So for a farm that seemed to be of decent size, a pretty good deal, but to be expected, I guess, keeping it within the family there. So that's right after Solomon's death. George and his wife Susan purchased the farm from the estate. Now, according to Vicky, who married Ted Hartman, her and Ted live in Georgia, split time between Georgia and Virginia. They have farms there. I've been emailing her a bunch. Her husband is a direct descendant of both Solomon, so we share that in common. Our ancestor is Edgar. His ancestor is George Rush Hartman, listed here. And his grandfather is one of George's sons, Harry Calvin Hartman. And Vicky told me that Harry was born on the farm, as they call it the homestead. So we know that, and I know from Harry's birth date, which was, I believe, 1888, 11 years before Solomon dies, that George was living there with his family because that's where Harry was born and Solomon was still alive. So this is what happened with it. There we go. And we're nearing 10-minute mark here, so I'm not going to try and keep you guys too long. Let's keep moving. 1899, George buys the farm from the estate. It seems he's already living there with his family. His family, of course, including his wife, Susan K. Eicholtz, Susan Kate Eicholtz. I know I've mentioned it in a video before, but we know how she met her untimely demise. She hung herself in the barn of the farm. Now, I didn't know this when I was walking through the barn when I went to visit Tony, and he said, go ahead. He went off to do farm stuff, and I was just walking around the barn. I assume I walked through the barn where Susan hung herself. Pretty wild. So that's in 1907 that she dies, 8 years after they buy the farm from the estate. Then we move to September of 1920, so 21 years after George purchases it and 13 years after his wife dies. It says Arntsville again, here we are. George R. Hartman sold his farm in Manalapan Township to, I'm not sure, someone may know this better than I, MESSRS, don't know what that's short for, no clue, but we get the idea. Charles and Robert Hartman, his sons, for $14,000. Now you can do the math. 5,200 was 184. This is going to be somewhere around a substantial amount more. So you can at least double that cost, and it was in the threes to $400,000 in today's money. He sold it to his sons at the time. And from there, I don't know what happened. That's where our timeline, but that's a pretty big jump. We go from 1899 to 1920. That's a significant leap in our knowledge gap. From what Tony tells me, the current inhabitant, his grandfather bought the farm around 1930. So that would leave about 10 years. I've seen in one other article here that I have saved, but I don't have pulled up right now, a reference in passing to a tour of Adams County's fruit belt, which it's one of its major calling cards. And it mentions that they go to the Hartman Brothers farm in Manalapan Township. Now, just through deduction, I would assume that these brothers in Manalapan Township, both being Hartmans, that would be their farm. I believe that was in 1922. I saw that was the date of the paper. That would give us another 2 years, but still doing work on that. So we now have some dates on and some facts on what happened to the farm after Solomon died, which is really cool. And to sum it up, next Saturday, we'll be up there visiting the farm again. I'm going to try the same trick I pulled on Sue with Tony. Ply him with L&M donuts. The buttercream just tends to loosen the inhibitions, especially inhibitions possibly on traversing one's farm and inside the home. Maybe we can see, because we do know the farmhouse there is original. We'd love to get in there and see what we can find. Maybe dig up some old Hartman family writings, which is the coup de grace at the moment of our studies. So until next time, guys, 13 minutes in here. Thanks for hanging around. Thanks to Heather and Philip for the stability on the camera here. And if I forgot anything that I promised at the beginning, it'll get covered in another video. So have a great day.